Good day, everyone. My name is LJ Stambuk. I'm the president and CEO of the World Affairs Council. And do we have a treat for you today? There is a big change on the sports scene in Charlotte and in the region. There is a new club, the Charlotte Football Club, and there is such excitement in the community about the Charlotte Football Club. And today we're privileged and honored to have with us together Nick Kelly, who's the president of Charlotte Football Club, and Zoran Krneta, who is the sporting director of the Charlotte Football Club. And they'll be speaking to you about their plans, their expectations, and the future of the Charlotte Football Club here in our city, Queen City of Charlotte. I want to welcome Nick and Zoran. Thank you for taking time from your very, very busy, and I know it's very busy work that you are all engaged in, putting the best team, future best team in the MSL together. And I'm looking forward, as one who is a big sports fan, a big soccer fan, to being at the first game when you start playing with a new season. The topic of today's conversation is growing soccer in the Carolinas, the progressive, ambitious, and collective vision for Charlotte Football Club. As the community's premier global education nonprofit, nonpartisan organization, the World Affairs Council of Charlotte has always sought to bring the world closer to you and to build a community of internationally informed and engaged citizens. Dialogue, knowledge, active participation, and an understanding of global issues are vitally important for our democracy to flourish at all levels. I'll go over some housekeeping details at this point. I would ask you to put your microphones on mute and your camera will be turned off for the duration of this presentation. We do want you to participate with your questions. We anticipate great questions and many questions, but please do remember to submit a question at any time. Use the question and answer box in the Zoom toolbar, the one circled in red. Please do not use the chat room. Please do not use the chat room because our moderator will not be able to see the question. Use the question and answer box in the Zoom toolbar circled in red. And don't forget, this presentation will be recorded and we will share with you. But to do that, we need to have your correct email address. So if we do not have your email address, please make sure to share with the World Affairs Council of Charlotte staff, and we will send the recording of today's program to you. If you're registered or would like to join the World Affairs Council of Charlotte networking reception, which is immediately after today's program at 3, together with Nick and Zoran, please stay on the Zoom call once the presentation has ended. You will be able to have a personal dialogue with Nick and Zoran for another 30 minutes in our networking reception. And all you have to do is to just stay on. Our staff will enable your microphone and camera access. And we ask you to please turn on your video to participate so that Zoran and Nick can see you. So very simple. If you want to continue the conversation, and I know you do, all you have to do is stay on the program at 3 o'clock and we'll have another 30 minutes of question and answers and dialogue with Zoran and Nick. Thank you. Quickly, we need your help. We're a nonprofit. This has been a very difficult year plus for everyone. If you're not a member, please do become a World Affairs Council member. The benefits are just amazing. The opportunity to see world leaders, experts, ambassadors, diplomats, presidents, and so on here in Charlotte with you, and also to support all the schools that we're working with in this region. If you're a member and you can possibly donate, please do donate to the World Affairs Council of Charlotte. Every penny counts so very much, and we're very grateful for your support to the World Affairs Council of Charlotte. I do want to mention to you upcoming programs. We have a couple more programs in the June month of this year. On June 9th, 2021, we have the World Affairs Council Distinguished Speaker Series with Dr. Claude Clegg, who's the author, historian, professor at UNC Chapel Hill, and he'll speak from Africa to America, our journey through Black history. On June 17, 2021, we have another World Affairs Council Distinguished Speaker Series with General Retired David Petraeus, who is now the director of the KKR Institute. And he, as you know, is the former commandant of CENTCOM, ISAF, and director of the CIA's America Longest War, what the U.S. withdrawal could mean for Afghanistan and global security. Some of you may remember that we had John Petraeus as our guest here in Charlotte some years ago, and his presentation was just amazing. If you want to learn more about what's happening in Afghanistan and that part of the world right now and what it means for us that we're withdrawing from Afghanistan, please join us on June 17th. And then if you're between the age of 18 and 70, please join the Young Professional World Affairs Council meetup and volunteering at Sua Casa, African Brazilian Festival with the North Carolina Brazilian Arts Project. This is going to be a lot of fun. And again, we call it the Young Professional Group of the World Affairs Council of Charlotte, but everyone is invited. It is something that a lot of people of all ages participate in. So if you're interested and want to have a good time and learn more about Brazilian arts, join us on June 19, 2021. If you are on social media, please do share, like, and follow the World Affairs Council. We are on all the major social media channels, and you can see us there, and you can follow us on these channels as well. Before I go into the biographies of our two distinguished guests today, I just want to share with you that the moderator today is Dr. David Calloway. He is a lead doctor, an executive at Atrium Health and the World Affairs Council board member. And I use this opportunity to welcome Dr. Calloway as well to this program. So Nick Kelly was hired as president of Charlotte Football Club after 6 years with Anheuser-Busch InBev. He was most recently their vice president of partnerships, beer culture, and community, overseeing company partnership in sports, music, and entertainment fields. Kelly has a soccer marketing background since AB InBev has sponsorship agreements with over a dozen MLS clubs and has partnered with international tournaments such as the FIFA World Cup, Olympics, International Champions Cup, and Copa America. A distinguished career and biography. Very much pleased to have Nick Kelly with us here today. And now, my friend, I have to say this. Zoran Krneta, who's named the sporting director of Charlotte Football Club in December 2019, is born in the same city that I was born in way back when, and is such a great addition to Charlotte, to the community, and obviously to the Charlotte Football Club. He founded the global sports agency Star Sports and Entertainment in 2005 and has identified and brokered contracts for more than 150 soccer players across the globe. He is responsible for all on-field operations, recruiting coaches and support staff, identifying and signing players for the MLS roster, and creating the Youth Development Academy as well. And he is also taking a master's degree in sports management, as I understand. And I would like to welcome Zoran Krneta first to Charlotte as Nick, and then to the World Affairs Council Distinguished Speaker Series program. Very privileged to have you both here with us today.
Charlotte is pushing hard to become home to Major League Soccer's next expansion team.
We have rumors of a new Major League Soccer franchise.
Find out in the next few weeks whether Charlotte will become the 30th city with a Major League Soccer team.
Charlotte, North Carolina will be MLS team number 30.
Charlotte awarded the 30th franchise. This is a big moment. This is huge.
This is going to tie this city together. It's going to be New Charlotte. We're going to have one big party every game. You ready to party?
Our name is Charlotte Football Club, but we are bigger than one city.
We were born an expansion team.
We don't believe in starting small.
We only know how to go big.
To play big, it takes all of us.
If you love the beautiful game, you belong here.
If you call the Carolinas home, you belong here.
We are made of North and South. We come from around the world.
We play as one.
Jugamos como uno.
We are Charlotte FC. Welcome to the club.
So we basically, where we're at is that, what we wanted to do across the community is kind of reintroduce ourselves. I think what we've seen since, when we first saw that video and we even announced that we were a team all the way back in December of 2019, is that we had so much momentum when we first started. I think all of the Carolinas, both North and South Carolina, were extremely thrilled with the direction we were heading, and just the fact that they were awarded an MLS franchise. And I think that what we saw was just that the momentum continued to carry into the early part of last year, when we put season ticket deposits and made them open. We had 10,000 deposit accounts for up to tens of thousands of season tickets put on hold. And while that was extremely positive, obviously we all know what happened with COVID in March of 2020. And what it ended up happening for us is that not only did it kill momentum, which obviously everybody would expect, is that it ended up pushing us back a year. Because had we had to kick off in March of 2021 this year, we wouldn't have been prepared. We think we would have had the proper resources in place to go out there and recruit the right players, nor would we have had the ability to make the updates to Bank of America Stadium that we truly needed. So what we've done in the meantime is we've restarted. So Zoran, we were fortunate enough to have Zoran on staff over that period of time. And Zoran's been, and we'll talk through it in a little bit, but, we've had the fortunate time with that extra year to scout, to recruit, to tell our vision and our story to players. So I'll have Zoran walk you through that in a minute. But the big piece it also let us do too is kind of take a step back and understand who we want to be. Like, who do we want to be as a club and the one true MLS franchise for North and South Carolina? And the big thing for us is that we want to be that unifying force for the Carolinas. And it's a pretty bold statement that's hollow until we actually do something. But the reality is for us is that we want to be out there promoting the soccer in general, but with soccer in the Carolinas is already huge. So what we want to do is help unite pro sports fans and college sports fans across the Carolinas. And that's what makes us a little bit unique here, is that if you look at South Carolina, Clemson fans hate South Carolina fans, or Duke fans hate UNC fans, and everybody has some level of a rivalry within state or even cross state. And we don't necessarily have that because we are the one MLS franchise. So for us to be able to unite and be the one team that everybody, regardless of college fandom, professional fandom, votes for, basically cheers for, that for us is, the most important piece. The second part is that this is probably the last chance in our lifetime that we're going to have the opportunity to launch a professional sports team from scratch in the Carolinas. We already have an NFL team. We've already got an NBA team, an NHL team. Like, this is the first time in, nearly, at least in the Charlotte, in 25 years that we've had the opportunity to launch a new sports franchise. So there's a whole generation of people that'll, call this theirs. They were there from day one, and we want to take advantage of that. But when we do that, we've got to make sure that we are, three things. We have to make sure everything we're doing is collective. We want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to come in, be a part of this, have their representation here. And the second part is we need to do this in a way that's progressive. This isn't just built for all the people that are Panthers fans. This isn't just built for Charlotte. This is built for everybody across the Carolinas. So our access for this collective group of people has to be smart, strategic, and affordable. And then the last one for us is that we want to be ambitious. We have very, very big goals. Our goal number one is we want to have the largest MLS match ever. We're not hiding it. We're not going to stumble into it. We want it to be known that is how ambitious we want to be. We want to average 30,000 people per match. That would put us top 3 in the league in the first year. That is another very big, ambitious goal. And then the last one is that we want to make sure that we're making the playoffs, and we're being, if we can host a playoff match, that would be the ideal, win for this year. Those 3 big things for any MLS team would be a fantastic year. But for that to be our goal year one is extremely ambitious. And everything we do is built on those things. It's being, a leader in the sport from day one, and not, giving ourselves a grace period just because we have, we're an expansion franchise. The other piece about it is that, I think the Carolinas expect that. I think you look at the rich culture that's here between youth soccer, collegiate soccer, the USL teams that are currently here. This is the expectation, is that there's already a pretty strong framework, and the ground's been laid for decades across the state. So for us to need like an extra couple of years to get there is probably, unexpected for us. I mean, we can't sit here and just wait to progressively get good and blame it on being an expansion franchise. So with that, that being just kind of like the pillars of where we're going, what we've done so far is that, Zoran, starting before I did it, was fortunate enough to start building an organization. So on the technical side, we've been hiring people that run our academy programs that features, kids from across both North and South Carolina. We've built a business side as well. So currently across our organization, we're north of 45 total people, roughly almost split 50-50. The good part about it is that because we are starting from scratch, we don't have to go and do a overly engineered D&I strategy. We've just been hiring the best of the best. And fortunately for us, soccer has a very diverse backgrounds and very diverse pool of candidates from both experience, geographical location, etc. We currently we have 6 people on staff that either speak Spanish, French, Portuguese. We have such a diverse background of individuals that regardless of the players that we eventually end up signing, we're extremely representative. And the other part is we're representative as well of making sure that we're half female. Our entire organization is half women. The other part is that, from between Hispanic, Colombian backgrounds, we've got another 6 Hispanic employees on staff. This for us is important to make sure when a player shows up or a staff member shows up as we continue to grow, that we reflect the community that's going to be fans of ours. So our staff doesn't look like the Panthers staff, that doesn't look like the Hornets staff, or even Bank of America staff. Our staff is trying to be as representative as the fan base that we hope to cultivate. The last piece for us, just to walk through is that we've got a lot going on now between now and, let's call it February 2022, that we have to get right in the community. I think that our academy kids have been amazing stewards of our brand and our expectations over the course of the last year. But now that we have we're starting to sign some players. Hopefully we'll have a coach soon. We now have to be out there representing this brand across the Carolinas. And the good part is that we have some groundwork in place. We've got 3 clear community pillars that we're working with our partners on. The first one's upward mobility. I'm sure this isn't a shock to you guys, but I think that for us, it brought a lot of visibility by our partners at Ally and by our partners at Street Soccer, that this is a huge need in the Carolinas and specifically Charlotte. The second one that we're focusing on is kind of food insecurity. And then the last one we're working on right now is most importantly is just a military platform that, given that this is the second largest military region in the country, we have to get it right. So I think that that's where, when we talk about getting in the community, we have 9 months to make sure that we're building up these types of community platforms that make sense. And then from a timeline standpoint, this is where I'll bring in Zoran, is that we've got a lot of big soccer things we've got to do. We've got to get coach. We've got to get some players. We've got the draft. We've got to go to training camp, and all that's going to happen in the next 9 months. And the one thing that it continues to keep everybody here excited is everything is a first. It's a first coach, it's a first player, it's a first training camp, whatever it is. And that's exciting. It's also scary because while we've hired individuals who've been through this before, they've never been through it before here. They've never been through it in the middle of a pandemic. So that for us has put us in a position where we want to make sure that everybody's taking the opportunity to step back when they're doing something to realize that, hey, this is the first time this has ever been done, and soak it in. So with that, I bring Zoran on to kind of talk through, because, I think the big thing that most of you guys are probably curious about is, when can we expect a coach? So maybe Zoran, maybe we start there. Is, what's the timing and the thought process of what we're looking for as we're recruiting a coach right now?
Thanks, Nick. First of all, I'd like to thank LJ Stambuk and World Affairs Council for inviting us. it's a process that we started luckily for us very early on, because we were hoping to start the 2021 season this season, but then we obviously were pushed back because of pandemic, and but everything was in process and everything was set up for early start. So we set up the scouting network. We set up people who would run that network, and scouting was one of the main pillars of our development and our strategy. And also we started identifying our potential head coaches very early on. I would say we started talking in November, December 2019 with some candidates, and continue going and talking to them throughout the 2021. We interviewed over 40 candidates. We still going through the process, but we also identify some very, very strong candidates. I would say a couple of head coaches were outstanding throughout the interview process, which was very long and demanding, and the process that perhaps is not so usual in a world of sport, especially in the world of soccer. But we changed that. We wanted to kind of make specifics and specific process for us, for Charlotte FC, and how we see our future head coach, which is the most important hire that we're going to make in addition to president, obviously. And so we cannot allow ourselves to make a mistake there. So I think we are almost there. We clearly identified our main candidates. We are going through the last bits and pieces of a consultation and discussions, and I do hope that by the end of this month, perhaps even earlier, we would be able to be in position to announce the head coach. Then after that, we already have some discussions, and we already identified the supporting staff. Some of them will come with a head coach. Some of them will employ ourselves. So we're hoping in the month of July, our fans community, the North and South Carolina, and the MLS community, and the family would learn the names of others as well, who will be running and taking this club to the first inaugural season.
Well, one question, Zoran, I think that'd be interesting for this group is that, one of the things I think that blew me away I think just, out of naivety was how much time we have to do selling not only America, but selling Charlotte and the Carolinas to not only a coach, but even players, and why it's so great. Can you talk about how that's unique to soccer?
It's unique to soccer in many ways. First of all, MLS is really growing, and it's growing at incredible pace. The two things I was shocked when I came, and I was originally announced in a December in a New Year's Eve in 2019, and one of the first things I said was I was incredibly surprised. You could even say shocked with the popularity of soccer in North and South Carolina, with number of clubs, with number of a level of interest. And then also I was pleasantly surprised in how far MLS as a league and US soccer as a sport improved and developed in the last 5 to 10 years. Now you have a US national men's national team that is a global force in a global soccer scene. They're playing. The players are playing in some of the top clubs in the world. We had now first Champions League winner, Christian Pulisic. So it's a very, very bright future for the US soccer, but it's equally bright future for the MLS. But having said all this, it's still a challenge to sell the dream to certain number of countries and players, especially if coming from Europe, and especially if those players we identified as a very good talents, very big talents, because obviously there is a Europe, that is historically has the strongest leagues and the biggest clubs and the toughest competitions, and obviously with the Champions League being the ultimate soccer competition, club competition in the world. But I think these things are changing, and this is where Charlotte community and us, all of us together, can help bringing Charlotte as a city and North and South Carolina as a state closer to the not only fans around the world and in the US, but also to the players and their families and the potential coaches and all these people who don't particularly know much about Charlotte and this kind of love that Charlotte and North and South Carolina have with soccer.
Yeah, I think the one thing that was interesting too is just that the fact that when we're selling Charlotte to a lot of these European players, it's also that everybody knows New York and everybody knows Miami, and it's almost selling that the best of both worlds is that you're only a couple hours from the beach. You're also, if you were dying to go to Miami or you're dying to go to New York, you are centrally located. So it's just how we've been able to position that, which has been fascinating. I think one other question we get all the time too, Zoran, before we kick it over to Dr. Callaway is why I think the one thing everybody wants to know is we were signing players 18 months before the season even starts, and they're continuing to play for their old clubs and they're being highly successful. What's the strategy for how you're selecting these players and why get them so soon?
Well, that's actually our strategic decision, because we could have opted for the easier way going forward and pick up the players in December, January, February of our inaugural season, and basically go through the expansion draft, super draft, and trades, other mechanisms on offer in MLS, or get the players in January, February window. We decided that this is if you speak about the summer transfer window for acquisition of players, the January window is not very it's not ideal for us. The players come always with a premium pricing, and very often, because everybody knows that in a month or two we need to select the entire squad, we will be at mercy of soccer ecosystem, all the stakeholders of a soccer, which is agents and other clubs, players themselves. So we decided to start building up blocks. And we identified early on transfer windows that where in each transfer window we'll build a certain number of blocks. We would focus on young and upcoming players. And we thought that with our connections around the world, with our knowledge of the global game, we would be able to identify the really good talents and then place them in a good leagues, in a competitive clubs, and essentially get them better. And what is the ultimate aim was that for someone else to develop our own players who then come to us and play at the best of their game for ourselves. So it was a bit of a risky strategy, but it's paying off, because we had our first player was Sergio Ruiz, who done exceptionally well. He was just voted as in a team of the league of the season for the Segunda in Spain, which is a very competitive, strong league. So we have a Riley McGree, who in about just now the game started making his debut for the Australian national team. I believe he's on the bench, but he will make a debut. So he's becoming a Socceros, playing for the first team, the national team of Australia. Then we have Jan Sobotzinski, who is under 20 Poland, under 21 Poland, very talented player. We have our own local boy, Bran Bronico, with tremendous talent, and we know him for some time. And when I was checking about Bran and his mentality, and as in this business, you need to check all sides of the player, not only his technical abilities, but everything else. So I called his ex-coach at Chicago Fire, Veljko Paunovic, and when I mentioned Bran Bronico's name, he literally said to me, "Put the phone down, go sign a kid, and then call me, we'll talk about weather or something else. With nothing to talk about Bran, he's exceptional, go and take him." So these are a group of the players that we exceptionally happy, and then we'll continue building. If you stay tuned in the next few days, we might have some more news, and next coming weeks we'll have some more, and then we continue building in a summer window. Not only a head coach and a supporting coaching staff, we'll add a few more players on the roster, and then hopefully with all ready for grand finale, when we'll use the super draft, expansion draft, and one or two trades within MLS, and maybe bring a few more talented players from abroad, foreign players, to kind of be ready for the inaugural season.
Awesome. Maybe I have one last question before we kick it to the doctor. Can you talk a little bit too about you talked about the development of our pro players. Can you talk about how you feel after year one of our academy and how it's going?
Well, I think Mark Nichols, who was hired from Seattle Sounders to head up youth development, as well as helping myself and my team on the technical side, has done an exceptional job. Dan Locke, we hired as a new academy manager under 17. We had a few other coaches, Patrick Daka and others. I mean, not to go to name every single one, but they all done great jobs. So we started with under 17 and under 15 program. We had a Discovery under 13 program. You can already see future stars. You can see the talent coming from the area, and we haven't even touched the surface. I mean, this is a process that lasts and goes on for years, and we hope to bring a couple of young players from our own academy for the preseason with the first team. But one thing I would not worry about, that's the talent from North and South Carolina. And we aim and to kind of introduce those talents into first team. And we also determine, and part of our process for hiring a head coach was to get someone who is willing and able to work with the young talents and is ready to offer the young talents a chance to play for the first team.
Awesome.
LJ, I think we'll see Gino Reynas and Christian Pulisic from North and South Carolina very soon.
That's awesome, Z. Dr. Callaway, do you want to kick it to you for some Q&A?
Yeah, Nick, thanks. I appreciate it. You're obviously a pro at this because you're preemptively answering a lot of questions in the chat. So well done. Well done. The initial questions in the chat were focused a lot on talent development, the commitment to youth academy and recruiting, and how you balance out bringing in international stars versus local development. I think you pretty much answered a fair amount of that. If you wanted to talk maybe a little bit more about how important the youth academy and development is to your priorities about D&I and community engagement and building the momentum around soccer in the Carolinas, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'll start, Z, and then we'll kick it to like the technical side of it. I think that it's a unique ecosystem. I wasn't certainly prepared for when I started, to be honest. I think that what kind of caught me off guard is that it is a huge business in the Carolinas. All of these clubs, the CSAs of the world, the independents of the world have tens of thousands of kids participating. And that's actually, it's not a bad thing for us. It's a huge opportunity. But the thing for us that we're trying to figure out just from a community standpoint is how can we effectively bring value to them, either through clinics and camps and meeting players or whatever it may be, because I think that that's what we want to make sure that we're getting out there and doing that. And I think that now that some of these COVID restrictions are lightening up, let's call it, for the fall, is our hope is that we can do just that, is start showing up and hosting our own camps and clinics, across both North and South Carolina, but also partnering with the NCFCs, the Greenvilles, the Columbias, the CSAs, all of these people, to make sure that they're learning from our coaches, they're learning from our players, and then they can build that affinity for us. I think that we have 200 plus leagues across both states. Like no other state has that scale that we do. And it would be a shame if we couldn't actually get out in front of that before the start of the season. So we're going to take advantage of the fall to get out there and do that. But it's a continued slow build, like Zoran said. We've been fortunate enough to recruit players, from basically Raleigh down to Columbia and Greenville to Charlotte to Fayetteville. Like we're pulling players from all across both states, but we haven't even really had the chance to get out there and do as many open tryouts or identification things as we'd like to do, just because we're only in year one. I mean, I think Z, I guess the question would be back to you too, is just what makes you excited about reaching all these kids?
Well, look, we appointed a academy scout. We're going to get another person as academy scout. All of us are spending time weekends going around. The area is massive, and we literally didn't even scratch yet the potential talent pool that there is in North and South Carolina. I'm so excited. I to be honest, in many ways, we need to start the club. We need to have a roster ready. These young players, young kids are not ready yet, but they will be. But so we need to start with some other players, older, maybe foreign, maybe. But I have no doubt whatsoever that within the next couple of years, I would say season 2023, but 2024 more realistically, we will see a local talent playing regularly in the first 11.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think the one thing that's super frustrating is there's a lot of kids from the Carolinas playing in the MLS right now that had we had this 4 or 5 years ago, they'd be playing for us. So, I mean, there's certainly talent. We just didn't have the opportunity to get them.
Correct.
That's a great point. So question from Josh. Oh, sorry, Zoran.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, it was a similar topic, but transitioning to coaching and getting your thoughts about the traits or qualifications that you have in mind when you're looking at coaches, and specifically says, Mr. Tepper loves bringing in guys with an analytic mind for the Panthers. Are there similar characteristics you're looking for in your coaching search?
Yes, that's absolutely right. I mean, I'll tell a little, I wouldn't call it secret, but the part of our process for identifying a head coach was a 10 list criteria. And among that 10 list criteria, data analytics was very high up. In addition to data analytics, we had a youth development, past youth development success, and willingness to work with young undeveloped players to make them better, and also doing more with less in terms of doing much more with a group of talented people rather than a group of massive big world names. So these are there's a 10 characteristics that we kind of identified as a characteristics that would be identified as also kind of guidelines for Charlotte as a city and the North and South Carolina as a states. So we kind of gone along those lines. So for us, it's incredibly important. While, as I said, we have to go and recruit the players all over the world and within MLS to start the season, we are very confident that the talents will come. And again, in terms of data analytics is incredibly important. But data analytics is just one of the tools to determine how to pick up the player and how to get the player. So it's a very important tool, but it's not the only tool that we use.
So I hear you saying you're going to try to decide between Pep Guardiola, Jose Mourinho, and Sir Alex Ferguson pulling them out of retirement.
Yes, we decided to offer the cage fight between all of them, and whoever wins gets the job.
Who wins the cage fight between the three of them?
I don't know. I think I'll maybe go for Pep. He's from Catalonia. He has a bit of a fighting spirit in him.
I love it. So Lydia Surgit asked a question that's near and dear to my heart. Having two daughters and who are 6 and 8 and having grown up playing soccer and played through college. So she says, Nick, you talked about diversity and equity and recruitment of staff, equal opportunity. Is there any future for women's soccer team in Charlotte?
It's a great question. So I know I don't want to overcommit here. So we are working closely right now with the team in Raleigh to basically try and play matches down here. I think that for us, it's also too is that Mr. Malik, who is the owner of the Courage, was one of the original founders of the NWSL. So I think we're trying to be respectful of what he's built up to this point and partner on opportunities to come down here and bring matches to Charlotte. But at the same time, I mean, he's built such an amazing club up there, and they travel well, they win championships, they recruit well from a fan base standpoint. So I think what we're looking for more than anything else is an opportunity to bring them to the city more often. And also too, we've been working with the International Championships Cup, where they're doing these matches now where they're bringing international women's teams, and we're having conversations with them too. Like, there's no reason that the North Carolina Courage couldn't play. I don't know. I mean, like, they could literally play the Chelsea women's team here. Like, that's what's going on in Portland in the next couple of weeks, is that those are the types of matches you're seeing. Is you're seeing Houston that's playing, I think they're playing the Man City women's team. So like, I think that's the type of thing where we're going to try and bring women's soccer here as well. I'm pretty passionate about it just because when I was at Anheuser-Busch, we did a lot with the NWSL, and I think that for us, it's just that the fan base is completely different. Just like the Charlotte FC fan base is different than the Panthers, the NWSL fan base is different than an MLS fan base, because these women want to go see other women play, and these young girls want to have somebody to look up to. And as much as they all love the men players, like some of the best for the last couple of years, the best players in the country have been women. So I think that that's where we're going to continue to push to find stuff. But look, I don't know that we're going to try and cannibalize what our friends in Raleigh are doing.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Having grown up playing traveling soccer and going down to St. Louis and getting beaten up by Anheuser-Busch sponsored teams, I appreciate your long-term commitment to youth development.
It was an obligation, I guess, if you're in St. Louis.
Yeah, they had great teams. I'm going to just take a moderator's imperative here for a second and shift directions. We've got some good questions in the chat, but I wanted to get your thoughts on the importance of soccer or football to creating a global city of the future. And so a lot of what Charlotte's done is kind of position itself as a future city. When we talk about the importance on an international scale, how important is it to have a great soccer team?
You want to start, Zeke?
Well, it's to be honest, it's really no brainer. He is going to position and propel Charlotte in a different level in terms of Europe and the world. I mean, if you just look at this, I mean, I'm pretty sure that some people in Australia now knows where the Charlotte is, and they will know even more because when Riley McGree starts playing for us, he's now a young international star playing for Australian national team, and he's going to be potentially playing in the World Cup in Qatar. So I think I would not underestimate the power of soccer as a super global game. Number one, and number two, it will put Charlotte on the map of not only soccer, but it's generally the map of a sport in Europe and Asia and elsewhere.
Yeah, I think the one thing for us too that we continue to see is that as we bring over a lot of these international players and coaches to come to Charlotte for the first time, is one, they fall in love with it because of the quality of life and everything else, and two, a testament down the road is when they're done playing or for us or working with us is that they just stay. And I think that that's ultimately, it will be a testament to how much they love the quality of lifestyle and what everything Charlotte has to offer. But I think the other piece about it is we're being pretty strategic on the marketing front as well, on the fact that most of these international people that are moving to Charlotte or to even the Carolinas as a whole, the big thing, they already have a soccer team that they grew up loving. So like I've met a bunch of Mexican fans recently, and their number one team is either like Chivas or Club America, and then number two is the Mexican national team. I just want to be in your top three. So if your one American team can be Charlotte FC, I'm not telling you to fall out of love with these other teams. And we're doing the same thing with, we go to those bars sometimes on the weekends in the morning for where these guys watch EPL or La Liga and stuff like that. And then we're not asking you to give up on your Manchester United love. We're just asking that your MLS team becomes us. And I think that going at it of the way of, recognizing and celebrating their first team that they fell in love with. Like, we have 20 years to build a generation of people that this is their first team, but we can't take away what somebody already has. So that's where for us is being not stubborn and being much more of a, leaning into the fact that we want to be one of your considerations of what you're watching on a Saturday afternoon or a Thursday night.
So speaking of which, I'm going to throw that on. I forgot to have this on for the whole time. I like it with my buddy's the doc for Dallas, so I like to just rub this in his face a little bit. So building off that question, there are two related questions. One from Galen Miller, and another from Senorita Anonymous. But they are: how does the Charlotte Football Club plan to connect with Charlotte's international community, and then also the plans for connecting with companies and organizations to sort of deepen the integration into the fabric of the community?
Yeah, I'll start with the second one first. I mean, maybe it's the easier one. So we're launching this fall what we're calling the Captain's Academy. And what that is that we're going to partner with a lot of local businesses, basically minority owned, internationally owned, and even just some of the bigger businesses you'd imagine here, the Bank of America's, the Allies, et cetera. And we're going to take 100 kids from Charlotte Mecklenburg school system that are seniors or rising seniors. and kind of put him through a crash course for 8 months of the ability to hear about everything from, marketing to sales to logistics to leadership to you name it. But we want to make sure that we're doing it with a global perspective because we are a global sport. So we want them to understand the nuances of what it takes to run a global organization. So, and then the other part is too, is that you look at somebody like we're having conversations with Compare Foods, like the hearing from Compare Foods of how they strategically market and the need that they serve in this community compared to a Publix or a Harris Teeter is so unique. And for us, like, to bring that conversation to bear with these 100 kids is extremely important. And then just staying on somebody like Compare, we need those types of partners to help us reach the Hispanic community. We need select partners to come on board that are going to help us reach the Black community. And I think that for us too becomes where this isn't necessarily one of those traditional things where we're going to run it like a traditional advertiser where it's like, hey, it costs this for this amount of media inventory. I know the value they can bring us, and we honestly need them more than they need us right now. They are the vehicle for us to get in front of these potential fans, these avid soccer fans who may know about us but not necessarily know that like we understand them. And us showing up and just being relevant in the places where they do business and in the places where they go watch matches. We're working right now with Corona and Modelo to basically take over 200 Mexican restaurants across North and South Carolina. We're not taking over the Buffalo Wild Wings, like we're taking over the Mexican restaurants. Like we are trying to be much more strategic of just being present where they are. To make sure they understand that like we're here. And I think that what you'll then see from us is, we currently have a Spanish language website where we've got everything we do is in English and Spanish, but we've got to start showing up. And we see a lot of these international use, especially when we actually go out and do a lot of these academy recruitings and go into a lot of these soccer events. But really right now we're waiting for a lot of those community events to pop back up post-COVID, so we can physically be there. So we're trying to do the best we can now, but we want to be out there more, and hopefully in the back end of the summer, there's some opportunity to do that.
Thanks, Nick. I'm going to go super granular here again. So you've got some devoted fans here. What is the best way for fans to engage with tickets or season tickets? Where do you think the best seats are? How do they get on board? So you've got some novices who are like, I want to be a season ticket holder, but do I get the end of the field? Do I go with the traditional 50-yard line? What advice do you have? Zoran, I'd be interested in your take too.
Why don't you start, Zoran? I'll go second.
For me, there is no brainer. I would always go with the diehard fans, and with the flares and the drums and jumping up and down. That's me.
I agree. So where are those for the people who may not know?
Yeah, so that's the supporters section. So that is, I'm actually just pulling up the map. So it's the 200. So basically, if you go on there, our supporter seats are, just to clearly lay out what Zoran also said is like, you don't sit down. These are the diest of the diehard fans, and you got to expect that you're cheering, standing, probably getting beers spilled on you. Fans, and we'll have about 3,500 of them in this like kind of the end zone that we currently have off the east gate. And then outside that, look, I mean, I think that for us, and there's really not a bad seat because right now, from a season ticket perspective, we're only selling the lower bowl. So I think that actually helps us where everything's a pretty good seat. The one thing, just to be granular, like if you are a Panthers fan and you're worried about the sun, like we won't have that problem because most of our games will be played at night. So you're not dealing with like, hey, I don't want to be on the north side because that's where the sun is. Like that's not going to be a problem. And then like most of the day games that we do have are going to be typically in the fall or the spring. So, most summer games, if you look at Nashville, Miami, Orlando, they're playing at 8 o'clock at night. Yes, it'll be hot, but you at least won't have the sun in your face like you do for, a 1 o'clock Panthers game. That's pretty granular, but the diehards know.
Well, yeah, I know. As we expand this out beyond the diehard fans to creating the new generation of diehard fans, just trying to give them the advice to get a leg up. We got time for maybe one or two more. Here's it. Are there any surprises fans should be looking forward to in 2022?
Good question. I mean, right now we're working on some unique pieces of content that I don't think that you would see from a franchise. I mean, we're working with a couple different producers to capture everything that's going on right now and heading into next year. I think that's probably would be maybe the only real surprise. Beyond that, we've got a couple things up our sleeve. I can't share that, but they may not wait till 22. We may be doing them this fall just to kind of, not get out of the way, but to kind of keep the momentum. Like some of these things we just can't wait. So, hopefully in the next, like Zoran said, but hopefully in the next couple of weeks and next couple of months, we'll have some other big things because we need that momentum. Like we said, we've been trying to turn this momentum around ever since we got out of COVID. But since I started in February, it was basically the only reason I was hired was like, we got to get back on track and we just couldn't wait anymore. So our goal is that we just keep building momentum. So yeah, some of the stuff we had planned in 22 is probably moving up to this fall.
Great, appreciate it. You got a shout out from Consulate General of Mexico in Raleigh, offering to collaborate and help. So I'll make sure.
Hey, we'll take that.
Felipe Garcia Landa. I'll make sure we get the email for you.
Great.
Then we'll do maybe one more as we're running up on time. From Duncan McNichol. The amazing success of Atlanta out of the gate really set the bar high for expansion teams in the MLS. Other teams like Cincinnati struggled a bit. How competitive, Zoran, do you think Charlotte will be in the first season, especially given the extra year that we've had to scout talent and recruit?
Right. I think we aiming to be very competitive. There's no doubt we will be, and we are openly saying this. This is not something. This is not a secret. We're saying we want to be competitive. We want to be a strong team. We want to be a fortress Charlotte, so to speak. So we want to make sure that this the clubs, the players, the executives don't like coming to Charlotte to play and lose. They like to come into Charlotte to experience a great atmosphere and the lovely weather and maybe have a few beers. But apart of that, nothing else they would like when they leave. So we want to create a team that is very super competitive, strong, aggressive, young, relatively young, because these are all relative things. And yes, I mean I think the MLS is really improving. Not only Atlanta, LAFC, there's Minnesota. A lot of clubs done really well. There are some strugglers who obviously still fighting their grounds. And actually takes them a little bit longer, but we think that we'll give emphasis to the team, the balance of the team, and we want to create a strong team that is a competitive from the day one.
Awesome, thanks, Zoran. LJ, for respect for time, I'm going to hand back over to you, and I just want to say.
Actually, you can go for one more question if you will. We have 1 more minute for a quick question and answer. So go ahead. It's great conversation. I don't want to have this opportunity taken away from our participants. So go ahead, David. But good timing.
So a question from Josh just has to do with the ebb and flow of soccer's popularity in the U.S. But wondering if you think we're on a long-term growth cycle here. We typically see interest peak with the World Cups. The question is how are we going to carve out interest in football, basketball, and baseball country?
Thank you so much.
I mean, I'll give you my answer. I think the MLS hates my answer, but I think that the biggest part for us is like we basically have 5 years to get this right, or we're screwed forever. And I think that the reality is that between having the most competitive men's national team we've ever had, going into Qatar next year, and then hosting 4 years later, we will have more momentum than we'll have ever had. The MLS has never been more competitive. Our women's team continues to dominate. If we don't continue to maximize off of all of that, plus the international success we're seeing, and just literally build a snowball that by the time 2026 hits for the World Cup, we have to hit our ultimate peak there to create the sustainability long term. So I think that the next 5 years are the most important years for soccer in the US because they have everything literally teed up for the growth of the sport, and especially as the demographics across the country continue to change with a lot more immigrants coming here, a lot more second, third generation Hispanics, European people. Like, I think that we're starting to see that, like, this can become somebody's primary sport, not their second or third sport that their fandom lives in. But we've got a short window to take advantage of it. So if 5 years sounds like a lot, it's not. So I think that we have to, everybody, not only is the quality of the product have to be good, but the partners that are activating it, the leaders that are driving the narrative, like, we've got to get it right. Otherwise, it'll just always be what it is today or what it was 10 years ago.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. Really great. Love the vision and hoping we can support as much as possible.
Thank you so much. That's great moderating. Before I turn it over to our chairman of the board, Wayne Cooper, I just want to share with you, this is what you can get as well. I love it. Love the colors. And by the way, the U.S. is playing Honduras today. I think it's one of the first matches for our national team. So let's root for the USA today. And this was a wonderful conversation. Nick and Zoran, let me just say, in your outreach to international companies in Charlotte, to the international community, to schools, we would love to partner with you and help with that. That is what we do. We're the premier international organization in Charlotte, and we would be delighted to continue working with you in spreading the word and reaching out to a lot of people. And let me just say, if I may, and this is our honorary consul of Mexico to North Carolina, Wayne Cooper will be delighted. This is from the Consulate General of Mexico in Raleigh. Can't wait to see the team play. Would be great to cooperate to get a Liga Mexico team to play the Charlotte Football Club. Happy to help. Felipe Garcia Landa at the Mexican Consulate General Consulate in Raleigh. We also have Giovanni Flores, Membership Service Manager at Latin America Chamber of Commerce of Charlotte. I would like to extend an invitation to an upcoming event on June 22nd with other chambers, meaning chambers of other countries in Charlotte, and would love to talk in future details. And so we have his contact information for both of you. Would be a great way to chat with diverse chambers and connect with various groups of people. So already people are showing interest, and we're delighted that we had that participation. Wayne, thank you for bringing the Consulate of Mexico in Raleigh. We had actually people in the program with us from Raleigh, from the consulate, as you see. So thank you for doing that, Mr. Chairman. Once again, Zoran and Nick, thank you so very, very much for all you're doing. It was such a pleasure. We're all excited about what you're doing. It can't be said that everyone has a job like you guys. You know, a banker who's excited. Yeah, I did this transaction or this or that. You're bringing in life, you're bringing entertainment, you're bringing sports, you're bringing new people to Charlotte, you're bringing recognition to Charlotte. And again, soccer is the most popular global sport in the world, and you're putting Charlotte on the map. So both of you and everyone at Charlotte Football Club has just a great job. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much, LJ. And yes, thank you for reading that from Felipe. I spoke to the Consul General and Felipe, and boy, those of us in the Mexican consulate, I'm only honorary, but we all stand ready to help you promote this, because this is great for us. What a timely presentation. I was living in Mexico back in 68 to 76, and we had the great soccer war that started at the Stadium of the Aztec Stadium. At that time, it seated 105,000 people, and the great soccer war between Honduras and El Salvador took place there over a preliminary match going up to the World Cup. But thank you so very much, and we really look forward to working with you. As LJ said, we really, really thank you. And if you are not a member, please join, because this allows LJ and the great staff for bringing these tremendous, timely presentations to us. Before I turn it back, I just want to recognize Charlotte and Jesse and Noah. Does a lot of the work behind the scenes. That we're so proud of all the work that they do, and we'll look forward to meeting everybody in the chat room then. Thank you.
So please stay for the chat afterwards. It is going to start in a minute. And Dr. Calloway, thank you for a great job as a moderator. Loved your hat, loved your cap. I know that you're very interested in soccer, and we're delighted to have you represent Atrium and the World Affairs Council and yourself as the moderator of this conversation. So those that want to leave, please leave. Those that want to stay for the chat, please do so.